Hey folks, it is Kerry with Trail Traveler, and today we are going to take a look at some basic recovery gear. This is stuff that pretty much everybody should have in their vehicle when they're on a trail. This stuff can save your bacon or somebody else's. So let's get to it when we come right back. Okay, so I got on the table here a handful of things. This is what I consider a basic recovery gear set. There's a handful of things here, can all fit into one little box or bag, and it's things that everybody should probably have. So now that's along with a winch. If you are going off-road and you're in mud, you're in snow and things, or rocks, you may need a winch. So winch is very important, but a winch by itself isn't going to do much. You have to have ways of connecting it to things. You don't just wrap the cord around a tree or something. You can kill a tree that way. So there's ways of doing things safely, and there's some gear that you should have. Now, along with the winch, one of the first things you should get is a tree saver. Now, this is kind of like a toe strap, but it's typically a little wider and it's not very long. Now, this goes around a tree, connects it, and then you connect your winch to that. So when you're pulling, it's got a big, thick area around the tree to protect it from the winch line. Now, of course, this can be used for other things as well, but if we're going around a tree, we want to have a tree saver. That will, like I said, protect the trees, keep things a lot safer. If you're on some of the trails that we go on, you will see a lot of winch line damage where they've just wrapped a cable around a tree and it's gouged into the tree and done permanent damage. So a tree saver, number one on the list. I also want to talk about the next one, which is a toe strap. This is a 30-foot toe strap, very highly rated for weight, but the reason it's called a toe strap is we use it for basically one purpose: towing. We don't use toe straps for recovery because they don't stretch. So if you've got it connected to one vehicle and you've got it connected to the other vehicle and you try and snatch them out of a situation, it's a huge shock load. I mean, you can damn near get whiplash when you try and yank somebody and it doesn't move, and man, it is just bad. I've seen bumpers get bent because of that. So toe straps are for towing. For doing a snatch recovery, we use a kinetic rope. Now, this is a 30-foot rope here, and the beauty of this guy is that it can stretch about 30% of its length. It's like a giant rubber band. So when we have two vehicles connected, the recovery vehicle gets some speed up, it stretches that line, and then kind of like a giant bungee cord, it allows a better recovery, a softer recovery, and it uses power stored in this from that stretch to help kind of pop that vehicle out. So a kinetic rope is hugely important if you're doing recoveries. So again, this is one of those that I think everybody should have, because if you're, again, snow, mud, things, and you need to try and yank somebody, you want to do it safely, and this is the way to do it, with a kinetic rope. A couple other things we have here that are important. Now, a lot of vehicles, if you've got an aftermarket bumper, you're probably going to have recovery points. That's great. You should have good recovery points front and rear, so there's something to connect to. In some cases where they don't have any recovery points, but they do have a trailer hitch, that's where this guy comes in. We can insert this into the trailer hitch and then connect our lines to this and do a safe recovery, because that hitch is connected to the frame. So we got a good, strong recovery point by doing it this way. So again, very good tool to have, maybe not to recover yourself if you have recovery points, but if you're recovering someone else and they don't have recovery points, but they do have a hitch, that's going to be the way to do it. Now, how do we connect things? Well, we use shackles, and there's two types of shackles. These are soft shackles. I prefer these. They're easy to use. They're lightweight. They don't get freezing cold. They float, versus a bow shackle or a D shackle. These are heavy and they get freezing cold. And if you drop them in a river or something, a little bit of water, they're going to sink like a rock. So these are super strong, but we tend to use the soft shackles. One thing we're always trying to think about is, what if something goes wrong? Or what if something breaks? So if we've got things connected and we have this connected somewhere in between and we have a line break, this thing could go flying. And we've seen these go through windshields. We've seen them hurt people. We use these very, very sparingly, or in a position to where if something breaks, it's not going to go flying towards a vehicle or towards someone. So we try to stick with the soft shackles. They're super strong. We've never had one break. We do replace them every few years, if the ones that get worn, and like this is a brand new one, so we keep these handy. I keep like 4 or 5 of these in the vehicle so we can go from both sides of our recovery line. So yeah, I am a huge fan of soft shackles. Now, another tool that we use is a snatch block. So we have our winch line that goes through here, and then we can connect this to something. Now, there's a couple different use cases for a snatch block. First off, it's a pulley. And if you understand the concept of mechanical advantage with pulleys, that means I can turn my 13,000-pound winch into a 26,000-pound winch. If I'm going to try and recover somebody who's stuck and maybe they're in some mud where they got some suction on the tires and it's going to take a lot more effort to pull them out, I can go from my winch to their bumper to the snatch block back to my vehicle, and now I have what's called a double pull, and it's going to slow it down because I'm the way it's of the pulleys, but it's going to double the effective strength of my winch. So snatch blocks are really important for doubling that power of the winch. They're also good for redirecting the line. So recently I was up in Wyoming doing a recovery, and while I thought I could probably just pull this Subaru back onto the trail, I thought, well, if I just pull straight back, that front tire that's in the ditch may just sit there and I may just drag them through the ditch. I need to get them onto the trail. And so we went from the Jeep to a tree, down back to the Subaru, so that we're pulling them in a different direction instead of straight at me. This gives us the ability to redirect the line of the winch and give us some different angles that we can use. So that was able to pull that vehicle back up onto the trail without pulling straight back and maybe just dragging them through the ditch. So snatch blocks can come in really handy. So I recommend everybody have at least one snatch block. I carry 2 just in case. Sometimes we've had to do some more complicated stuff, and I'm probably going to add to that with some snatch rings. They're smaller, they're lighter, they're a little easier to get set up, but the snatch block is one of our major tools. So this is what I consider a basic recovery kit. Yeah, you're going to invest a couple $100 into this stuff, but this is what's going to save your butt when you're out stuck on a trail somewhere. Whether it's doing self-recovery and you need to pull yourself out, connect to a tree or something, or if you're helping someone else. Now, one of our rules of thumb, especially during the winter when we have a ton of snow, is everybody has to have a winch, because we don't always know what position someone's going to be in that needs help. Sometimes it's someone in the middle of the group, goes off the trail a little bit. So everybody needs to have a winch, because we're not always able to reposition the vehicles to get a vehicle with a winch into the position to help the vehicle that went off. So everybody has a winch. Maybe not everybody has a full recovery kit, but we have enough amongst us to be able to solve any of those problems. But a winch, super important, and then a basic set of recovery gear. Now, I have more things than this inside the Jeep for other situations, but what I wanted to do in this video was give you an idea of the things that you need to get started. And I'll put links in the description so you can find things on Amazon very quickly, some soft shackles, the hitch receiver, a tow strap, a tree saver, a kinetic rope, and a snatch block. So hopefully this gives you a basic understanding of some recovery gear. So if you get stuck out there, you can help yourself or help someone else. So thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Kerry with Trail Traveler. Please be safe out there, and we'll see you on the trails.